swollen, they pulling, the pain, the blood, and silent,
In the name of God, the gracious, the merciful, we thank you for this day. We honor, worship, and glorify your holy name. May your name always be exalted. I ask God for his guidance and wisdom as I go into the topic of today, which is child education. What is child education? First and foremost, what is education? What is our role as parents in raising our children? This is a fundamental question. Most of us aspire that our children pursue a career as a professional in a certain discipline or in a field similar to ours. This ambition is common among parents. Am I right? Most parents desire their children to follow their footsteps. Therefore, it is essential for us to discuss the question, what is education? The challenges of education have escalated significantly as individuals mature. If they are lucky enough to attend college, of course, and earn a degree, they then embark on a journey of job hunting, marriage, and raising children, which introduces a wide range of complications. Is that right? This raises once again the question, what do we truly mean by education? Is it a comprehensive approach or merely focused on career preparation? Let's ask ourselves, if one has a child and faces the challenges of parenting, does one provide love, care, and support, or does one treat their child as a means to fulfill their own desires? Are we not sometimes guilty of using our children to meet our own needs? I ask, do we educate our children to navigate the complexities of life, or do we simply train them to gather and memorize information over the years, only to apply that knowledge for job skills? In doing so, we often overlook the psychological aspects of life. So how complete is our educational system? Is it one-sided, or is it whole? What does complete education entail, and how does it differ from the limited memory-focused education that is prevalent today? Learning differs from mere memorization. Do we all agree to that? While memorization can be relatively straightforward, attending school, absorbing facts from particular subjects, and retaining what educators convey, this process simply fills the mind with information acquired from books. This is the essence of contemporary education, which continues to influence us throughout our lives. However, we must question why we overlook the vast realm of psychology, which holds significant importance. Is our education solely focused on securing employment and a means of survival, or does it aim to guide individuals toward a complete way of living that transcends the divide between the external world and the psychological world? Is there any education, any institution that fosters the development of the entire brain rather than just a segment of it? Are we collectively exploring the possibility of nurturing the whole mind? In order to understand this concept, we must delve into the complete framework of our consciousness, provided one is open to such exploration. Now the question is, why should you feel compelled to carry the weight of knowledge from past thinkers? As a human being, you embody the narrative of mankind. If you can interpret that narrative, there is no need to consult other texts, apart from perhaps acquiring technical skills necessary to pursue a career. How do we tackle the question of whether it's feasible to develop the entire brain rather than just a single part? This is the fundamental issue in education. We have been conditioned, programmed, trained, and educated to utilize only a fraction of our brain. In essence, acquiring extensive memory and knowledge on specific topics, along with discipline, is essential for making a living. To pursue careers, we are trained and educated in this manner. Is that right? Consequently, we only utilize a portion of our brain, leaving the psychological aspect uneducated and neglected, resulting in an imbalanced education. True education encompasses both intellectual and psychological aspects. We embody humanity and the collective history of mankind as one has experienced suffering and faced various challenges. Unfortunately, we often rely on others to interpret that narrative for us. Can we approach any new experience without any bias? The same way a researcher gives undistorted attention to his research, we must approach every experience without any distortion, just as you see your reflection in the mirror. Our experiences are laden with biases, likely filled with theories and assumptions. Therefore, I must be capable of looking at everything with fresh eyes, without unnecessary influences, otherwise comprehension is impossible. Do you follow? One must be freed from tradition to understand tradition. The child's educational journey. The parents absorb all the societal madness and seek direction on how to raise their children. The taste of the world is known by every one of us. Do we genuinely love our children? What does love truly mean? However, the reality is that it is essential to have a purpose and earn a living. You cannot simply retreat from existence as you are part of the existence. The parent wonders what actions to take, aware of the pervasive corruption and imbalance in society. Everyone seems to prioritize their own interests. Unfortunately, what options does the parent have? Does love diminish after a certain age? You have invested in your child's education to somehow mold a better life for them. This is often the primary concern for many parents. But does this care truly embody love? Love cannot exist alongside self-interest. If I am perpetually focused on my own needs, how can I genuinely love? In the media and through movies, love has been romanticized, unfortunately. Nevertheless, we must delve into the sense of love, our connection with our children, and our relationship with the world. True love, born out of purity, clarity, and innocence, brings about the proper relationship and education. This understanding is only achievable through the lens of our relationships, through the eyes of our relationships. The true self is uncovered. Our reactions, our responses, encompassing not just biological instincts, but also uncover the greed, the hatred, the satisfaction, the envy, jealousy, unhappiness, and wickedness in human beings. The entirety of our consciousness is laid bare if we observe closely and without distortion, especially. Observing this connection clearly and without bias demands deep interest and energy. The ability to realize that, with the whole brain totally involved and making it a part of you, is true education. And that is the foundation for any form of education in the world. Now let's talk about education as we know it. As parents, many of us are putting in an immense amount of effort, yet we are not observing our children as closely as we should. It's impossible to monitor every moment of every hour throughout the day. However, when our kids reach a certain age, they are affected by the overwhelming influences of the chaotic world, one that is obsessed with sexuality and driven by unscrupulous individuals. You might not realize the consequences of allowing your children to sit for hours in front of a screen while you engage in your own social activities, neglecting to supervise your late ones who are being influenced by insanity of television content. Young children, aged 10 to 12, may have bodies that resemble those of adults, but mentally they are still very much children. You may say just she's just 12 or he's only 12, but what does that truly indicate? At 12 today, they are more mature than we were a few decades ago. What I'm proposing, parents, is to pay more attention. These are our children. We can't discard them if they make mistakes. Children, as they grow, require guidance in navigating their lives. They are not equipped, nor are we adults, to handle the complexities of nature. Can one control an earthquake? It's unmanageable. You can forecast it, but you cannot control it. The natural instincts and emotions given to us by God are formidable. Many parents shy away from talking about sex, but it's a subject that cannot be overlooked. It's important to grasp how life begins. Why are we hesitant to engage in these discussions? Why? We need to face the reality. Sex is a real part of life, not something to be feared. It is a command from God. As boys and girls grow together, the attraction to one another becomes instinctual and will continue to be that way. Even if you isolate them in a room without any media or external stimuli, they will still recognize this attraction. Nature compels them towards the opposite sex. And when they break through those barriers, trouble arises. There was a story of a man who married a woman who has a daughter from a prior relationship, whom he came to cherish as if she were his own, even bestowing his own name upon the child. The biological father and mother did not see eye to eye. They hated one another, leading to their divorce. She then married another man who has shown great kindness to both her and her child, this girl, right? Despite this, the girl's biological father has been supportive by constantly providing financial assistance for his daughter. However, he felt hurt. The new husband changed the girl's name to his and took away her original name, which understandably upset him. The new husband, being a colleague of mine, approached me for counseling about the girl's biological father's desire to see his girl, right? The girl's grandmother from the paternal side also expressed a desire to spend time with her grandchild. I advised the new husband that even though the girl's mother had fallen with him, it does not negate his parental rights. After all, he is the girl's biological father. I acknowledged the fact that the new husband loves the girl as if she were his own, which is commendable. I encouraged them to work together as co-parents for the child's benefit. I suggested he should take the girl to see her biological father and grandmother. I wanted to emphasize to any man who is stepping in to father a child that you should never see the biological dad as a competitor, as a threat. Instead, show respect for him, foster an environment where the child honors the biological father. Treat the child well, and they will naturally grow to love you. Do not attempt to eliminate the biological father from the situation. The same applies, of course, to any woman who is stepping in to be a mother to another woman's child. Treat others as you would like to be treated, and God will truly bless you immensely through the child and your actions. Naturally, as we develop independent thoughts, we start to conflict with the beliefs we once accepted. Therefore, as children reach a certain age, mothers and fathers need to move away from an authoritarian approach in raising them. Otherwise, the children will begin to rebel against that loving control. Even though you might say, I've done everything possible, I have tried to be a good mother or a father. This is where the issue lies. You don't realize when the time comes to shift from dictation to reasoning. Assert your authority out of love, regardless. However, a firm action sometimes might be necessary to bring back the rebellious child to the right path. If it fails to respect authority, rebellion is sometimes crucial to instigate change. You cannot simply yield to what is wrong and evil. At some point, we must gather the bravery to stand up and declare that something is wrong and oppose it. This is what the prophets of God have consistently done. They have opposed injustice and unrighteous leaders. The essence of righteousness and morality obliges us to risk our lives if needed to facilitate significant changes that will ultimately benefit all, even if we have to endure hardships to achieve a change. So, brothers and sisters, as parents, it is important to you to understand when and how to engage in reasoning with your children. When they reach a certain age, the instant you begin to dictate, you will notice a change in their demeanor. You might see them grimace, suck their teeth, or retreat to their room and slam the door. These actions indicate dissatisfaction with your approach. However, there's a certain parenting approach today that appears to be obstructing children's development, preventing them from genuinely becoming who they are intended to be. We tend to give them a childhood dictated by patterns. There are specific parenting styles that create barriers. What do I mean by that? Sometimes we parents think that children cannot succeed unless we consistently try to protect them and intervene in their lives. We behave as though we genuinely believe their future hangs on acceptance into a limited era of careers we have envisioned for them. Sometimes we may simply be anxious about their future, not being one we can proudly display to our friends. If we take a moment to critically evaluate our actions, we will realize that our children view their worth as dependent on school grades alone. Our constant interference in their developing minds sends a message that we doubt they can truly make it without our support. This is unfortunate. When we prioritize grades and awards as the main objectives of childhood, solely to facilitate admission to a certain career or lifestyle, we are defining success too narrowly for our children. And them to achieve our idea of success ultimately affects their long-term self-esteem. We should focus less on our wishes and more on ensuring they develop the habits, the mindset, the skills, and their inner well-being necessary for success in any path they choose. Great attention should be given to the nurturing of a child that lays the foundation for overall success in life, a nurturing grounded in love and responsibilities than obsession with their academic standing. Therefore, brothers and sisters, for childhood education, it is essential to instill the ability to love, which begins with self-love. Children cannot truly love others if they do not first cultivate love for themselves, and this self-love is fostered through the unconditional love we provide as parents and guardians. Therefore, rather than fixating on grades, when our children return from school or when we come home from work, we should turn off our devices, set aside our phones, and engage with them directly, allowing them to witness the joy in our faces upon seeing them after several hours. Ask them how school was. Take interest in their own word, for example. What did you enjoy today? How was school? How was the day? Even if your teenage child responds with, good, as they usually do, as mine also, does from time to time, it is essential and wise to show interest in her day's experience. Do not be quick to discuss her attitude or grades in class. You might ask, what made your day enjoyable? Take some interest. That's what I'm trying to say. It is crucial for them to understand that they are valued for who they are, not merely for their academic performance. As a single parent, I once approached parenting as if I were cultivating a garden, meticulously shaping them into an ideal form that might secure a bright academic future. I wanted all the best for my children. However, after working with numerous children and paying more attention to my own children, I have come to realize, to understand that children are not a pedicured garden and should not be treated like a garden. A pedicured garden, I mean. They are wildflowers of an unpredictable variety. I learned to first create a loving and nurturing environment. Learn to empower them through responsibilities and to love them so they can both give and receive love. The choice of education and career path is theirs to make. My role is not to mold them into my vision, but to support them in realizing their true potential. Do you follow? So, in conclusion, parents, brothers and sisters, the first thing we need to realize is that children come through us. They are not ours. They are not your possession to guide however you see fit. When you view them as your property or as your future investment, you are committing a certain sacrilege against creation, against God, and there will certainly be a consequence. There will certainly be a price to pay. Therefore, before deciding to have children, you should reflect on these matters. But if you already got kids, it's imperative that you consider it thoroughly and seriously. If you choose to have a child, it should ideally be at least a step above who you are. The child must be always a step ahead you. They should become a better version of you. You should not make them be like you. You should refrain from trying to mold your children into replicas of yourself. You must be very careful. If you truly care for your children, this behavior must cease instantly, as nature only embraces originality, not duplicates. Parents ought to reflect on what they have truly accomplished in their own lives. Think about it. What joys, what triumphs have most parents experienced? Ask yourselves. Most parents have only known frustration, lovelessness, lifelessness, distress, hate, anxiety, insecurities, and less moments of joy and security in their lives. Am I right? Most of us, it is important that we do not impact such life consciously or unconsciously on our children. You should cease parenting them in such a controlling manner. What they truly require is some good companionship, not a domineering figure roaming around the house. When you were a child, did you enjoy being talked down to? So, what they require is a friend, not an authoritative parent. However, if you don't guide and protect them right, someone else may offer them the wrong guide. Your responsibility is to protect them from that. But in doing so, you must have the confidence to raise them in a way that they do not blindly follow your advice. They should be raised in a manner that allows them to question any action, any directive of yours, of ours, that does not make sense to them. If you raise your child with a strong sense of their own intelligence and ability to make choices, you will find that they will seek assistance when they realize their knowledge and understanding aren't sufficient for every situation. Conversely, if you instill the belief that they must always adhere to your advice, they may follow a rebellious attitude. They may dismiss good advice altogether, often opting for the exact opposite. This is a common experience for many parents, isn't it? Sometimes they reject your advice simply to assert their independence. So start regarding them as just another individual. See them as another individual, not merely as your child. If you do not fill up their minds with fear, with insecurities, children possess an extraordinary capacity for observation, which naturally leads to countless questioning or questions. Answer as many questions as you can with the knowledge you possess. For things you don't know, simply tell them, I don't know. But let's find out together, what's the issue with admitting this to your children? What's the problem? You only need to shield them from detrimental influences. Beyond that, allow them freedom. If you fail to show that level of commitment or involvement in their life and merely expect them to turn out amazing, it won't happen. That's for sure. Therefore, If your goal is to nurture children, focus on elevating yourself. Don't fixate on the children. Instead, work on becoming a remarkable human being yourself. Transform yourself, and that will naturally reflect on them. But there are no guarantees. Every other thing in the existence, certainty is elusive because other stronger influences exist in the world. Therefore, brothers and sisters, all we got is ours. Nice home, beautiful home is a beautiful word. All we need to do, each and every one of us, is to work on ourselves. Make your home, and you don't have to worry about the world. The world will be beautiful. Now, I thank you so much for listening, and I express my thanks to the Almighty Father for his constant support. Words fall short in expressing my gratitude for the profound understanding he has granted me. I pray that Almighty God guides us, gives us the right intelligence and knowledge to educate ourselves, the world, and our children. May he bless us all with the necessary wisdom to turn our setbacks into comebacks. I thank you once again for listening, and may God bless you all.